and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to hear the story behind and meet the people behind Sly Clyde Cidery in Hampton. My guest is Tim Smith. Welcome.
Welcome.
And Brent Miles. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
This is exciting because you're actually opening the building, but some of us, maybe, not that I'm confessing, have been drinking your cider for getting close to a year now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a process.
It has been a process. The redevelopment of an old piece of property like that has been a lot of challenges. Everything's a surprise. The place was built in the late 1800s. And so the production building was all new, but fixing up this old house has really been interesting.
Now, when you say this old house, go ahead and tell people where you are and what the building used to be, Tim.
Well, it's 207 East Mellon Street. It was purchased by our family in 1916. My grandfather grew up there. My dad grew up there. I lived there briefly when I was very small. And it was a home. Then it became, it was some apartments. There was a jeweler in there at one time. Then it became part of the florist, and the florist had it for a long time. And then when the owner of the flower shop decided he was going to retire, we took the property back over and started this process, which has been long. I'm glad for it to be done.
I'm going to ask you later, but would you do it again? Or is it more than you expected? What was certainly is more than you expected.
You know, I don't think I could have torn the building down, but there were several times that I thought, maybe I should have just called the bulldozer.
But it is so nice that you were able to preserve it, because you look around Hampton, we are a 400-plus-year-old city, and so many things don't show up anymore because it was torn, it was burned down, then things were torn down for redevelopment. It is so nice that you made the commitment to keep and restore that building. I can't wait to see it.
It's pretty impressive.
Now, what made you decide to open a cidery? This is not the business you've been in.
No, it's not. Originally, we were going to renovate the property and lease it out. I was looking for a brewery. Well, we ended up with 4 breweries.
Pretty close.
That's too many.
Yeah.
That's too many. So I started looking, and I talked to a girl that worked for the city in a meeting, and Allison said, well, you ought to think about cider. I thought on a commercial scale, I've really never looked at it that way, and started looking at it and just thought, you know what, we ought to do this ourselves.
That's
so
great.
Here we are.
That is great.
Here we are.
And how did you get head cider maker Brent here?
Well, we were looking for a cider maker, had put out on the internet that that's what we were doing, and Brent was in Ireland coming back to the States.
Wow.
And so Doug made the connection, and oh, here he is.
And Doug is?
My youngest brother and business partner.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like coming for you to Virginia, doing a startup? What was your background and training?
Yeah, so in Seattle, where I lived before my wife and I were in Belfast, I had helped start Seattle Cider Company. And so I made cider for them for over 3 years. And so I had a lot of experience with the startup process, business plan, facility planning, et cetera. And when my wife and I were in Belfast, we didn't know quite what we were going to do, and I saw this posting that was kind of looking for somebody with my experience. And at first, I was a little reluctant because I'd never been to Virginia, or specifically Hampton, but Doug did some convincing, and my wife and I not only, decided to move here, not having met Tim or Doug, but we bought a house in Phoebus.
Oh, well, that's a huge commitment.
Without having been here.
That means you're staying for a little while.
Yeah, so, and we've really loved Phoebus. I can walk to work, and it's been great working with Doug and Tim with, their roots in the community, so.
So tell us about your ciders. What do you have now? And I know it'll probably be a change and a process, but.
Yeah, so right now we are using 100% fresh pressed Virginia apples. We work with an orchard in Nelson County, presses the apples for us, and then they ship them to our facility in Phoebus. And right now we have 4 sort of commercially available ciders. Submersive, which is kind of your straight fermented apple, not too sweet.
That's the one that I've seen in more.
Yeah, so that one's in the
more
12-ounce
restaurants
cans and on draft.
cans and on draft.
And then we have 3 in bottles, in 500 milliliter bottles. One is called Cut and Run. That's made with ginger and lemon.
That's my favorite right
Yeah.
now. I haven't tasted them all yet, though. That could change.
You can have, rotating
That's
favorites
just
if you want to.
fabulous.
Yeah. So Cut and Run, and then Inkjet, which has been a crowd favorite with blackberry and mint.
Yeah, I love that
my
too.
wife would
And those
be
are
really,
the 3 you had last year at the Phoebus.
Yeah,
Fall
or in
Festival.
the Spring Festival. Yeah.
Spring Festival.
Yeah.
Oh, it hadn't been a whole year since. Okay.
Yeah. We started production in April, so. And my wife would be really mad at me if I didn't mention that the inkjet was her idea. So,
Okay, good.
Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
It's really a nice
Yeah.
combination.
And then the 4th one is called Surf Hopper, and it's a dry hopped cider. But we are going.
Okay, what does that mean?
So dry hopped means, like in the brewing process, normally they'll add hops when they're boiling their wort. But they'll sometimes add hops after fermentation. That's called dry hopping, and that doesn't add any bitterness. It adds aroma. And since cider is more like winemaking, we're not heating anything up. Really, the only way you can add hops is after, and so that's called the dry hopping, and it just adds really nice aromatics.
Okay.
And then we have 5 more ciders that are on tap at our tap room, including one which is a collaboration with Cashel Spirits at Vanguard in Hampton. We take their gin botanicals and add that to our cider. That one's called Juniper Rising.
That sounds wonderful.
We have a habanero rosemary called Spinning Compass, which with some limited public last night was a crowd favorite. So, and then a few others that people will have to come to the cidery to explore.
Well, and I will say, because I've toured some Virginia cideries, and they range from, the sort of super historical, authentic cideries to the more gimmicky ones with a lot of flavors. And sometimes they let the flavors overshadow the cider or the apple. And you don't. Yours it's just this very balanced taste. You can taste what's going on there, but it doesn't, knock you over the head.
Yeah, thank you. I really like to kind of have it be cider first and foremost, and it's easy to sometimes overload on flavors and just treat it like a vehicle for whatever you want them to taste. But if you are making good cider and then kind of adding flavors that go along with that and add to it instead of overwhelm it, then I think people really like that, because they don't want to be drinking essentially sugar water with a flavor in it. They want cider with something a little bit extra. So.
And now cider, nationally has really gained in popularity with the prevalence of people not doing gluten. I mean, is that something that you've seen? Then they also just decide they like it, but it's a sort of beer alternative for some folks.
It's like you were saying, there's different styles of cider companies, and some are closer to wine, and some like us are closer to beer in the packaging and the manufacturing process. And so I think in a lot of ways, the gluten-free movement introduced a lot of people to cider that maybe hadn't had it before, and then they realized, oh, this is actually just a really good drink. And so some people who say then start consuming gluten again, they're not like, oh, I'm done with cider. They keep drinking it. And with that is a lot more cideries popping up, so people have more selection, better things to choose from, not just 1 or 2 brands. And so I do think that it's been a good piece of the growth for the cider movement, but it's not kind of unsustainable. It's not the only reason.
Really, I think, was part of it.
Yeah.
Well, what have you learned about going into a new business and doing a startup that you like to share with people?
What have I learned? I've learned that sleep is not really necessary.
There you go.
It's overrated. It's been a really interesting process because this is so far out of my historic field.
Which is, you should go ahead and tell people. I'm sure most people know you, but.
Yeah, well, I've been a funeral director for 33 years at R. Hayden Smith. And so now we're doing things where there's a lot of, funeral homes have government oversight also, but there's a lot of government oversight.
Yes.
And distribution is something that I haven't worked in before. Tap room. I was a bartender in college for a while, as most people were, I think, pulled a stint here or there, but haven't really ever had to operate a place like this. So it's been really interesting. A lot of moving parts. Now you've got the whole production side, which is Brent's responsibility. Now we've got the tap room, and so we have Jeremy, and he's going to run that. And so we have the people in place, and we have a couple more positions we're still working to fill.
That's great. And it will be a lot like a brewery. I mean, you can come in with your growler now and get it filled. You will be selling cans and bottles, I think, depending on what it is. Or you can, it's one of the interesting things about the rise of these craft breweries, and I know Ouzelfinch and Bull Island, places like that, become the sort of neighborhood hangout. I mean, Virginia has been different with ABC regulations and never sort of had that neighborhood bar like you'd find in, Wisconsin or places like that. And the brewery cidery has kind of become that neighborhood hangout.
People seem to be adopting, this is my favorite place. Now they'd like to visit all of them, but this is my favorite place. I'm going to go here all the time. And it's funny, you can go to these places and find the same people over and over.
No, I'm not that I do ever.
I have not seen you there all the time, so yet. But
it is. It's a different atmosphere than a bar, but yet it's a gathering place. It's a community kind of place.
And we're trying to foster that a little bit. We have something called a Clyde Club, which, a lot of breweries have like mug memberships. And so we have these very cool laser etched mugs that are numbered 1 through 100. And so there's a yearly fee, but you get, essentially 10% more in your glass every time. And then you get 10% off merchandise and kegs and packaged product to go. And so we had, we just wanted to do something.
Are you sold out on those?
No, we still have some spots left. So.
Okay. That's important.
Get in touch. Yeah, but it's very cool to kind of see the mugs and see people drinking out of them because it kind of gives them a level of, investment in the company and just it's a very communal aspect to the cidery. So. Well,
and I think Phoebus as a community is, a great place to be, and you're going to be a part of that. But talk just a little bit. I mean, I know you had the building, and that was the starting point, but what is it like in Phoebus? What do you see happening there? How is it all sort of coming together?
Well, part of the idea in this whole thing was that Phoebus needed some destinations. It's nice to have places that you drive by and think, oh, I want to stop here. And there's antique stores and that sort of thing. And and there's some restaurants, really good food, and Stuffed is there now. But Phoebus needed a destination, something that was going to bring people from outside of our immediate area. So Hampton, get people from the south side to come across the bridge. So this has been great. It creates something good in Phoebus. Phoebus is the best investment in Hampton.
I think it is right now. I truly do. Downtown's ready to pop, but Phoebus is already popping. Yeah,
Phoebus is a great investment, and we have people that we know, friends of ours, that are younger, Brent's age, give or take, and are investing in these old properties in Phoebus and fixing them up. And 5 years from now, 6 years from now, Phoebus is going to be great. It's great now. Mellon Street has really come along. We're hoping that Mallory will do the same thing.
Well, it's become that place like downtown where you don't necessarily say, I'm going to eat at this restaurant. You say, I'm going to go to Phoebus, and then I'm going to walk around and see what I feel like or where there's a line or not a line, because there's so many things to choose from.
Yeah, we get a lot of people coming out of Fort Monroe. They can ride their bikes, and scooters or whatever, and come see us, and we anticipate a lot of that.
Yeah, I think there will be. You actually live there, right?
Yeah, so my wife and I just live about 5 blocks away.
And you're from cool places in the Northwest.
In Seattle,
Yeah. So how does it feel to you in Phoebus?
I really like it. When we were trying to figure out where to move, being close to the cidery was important to me because I have to go in at random times and didn't really want to drive across the bridge.
It's like a chemistry experiment.
But also we wanted to kind of be where the facility was and be in that community. And yeah, like you were saying, it's great to just walk downtown, like walk to Phoebus, to Mellon Street, and figure out where you want to eat. Really like being able to walk and not have to drive everywhere. So we've really liked living in Phoebus for that reason. And then you're close to the water. It's at the end of our street, which is really great. So.
Okay. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank
I can't
you.
wait to taste the new flavors. Yay.
Yeah, Saturday is the grand opening, the 25th. And so we'll be open 6 days a week,
That's what I was going to ask.
every day
Okay.
except Monday.
every
So,
day except Monday. You have to stop and think.
You need a day off every
Yeah.
now and then.
Yeah, so
You need probably a lot of days off right now until you recover.
I'm going to be ready for a vacation here in the spring.
Okay. Well, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you will come and enjoy Hampton's newest in the league. We've got fabulous breweries. This is our only cidery, and it is really nice what I've tasted so far, so we'll have to go back and try the rest of them. Thanks for watching.